Welcome to Connection. My name is Bilitis and I'm pleased to be your host today on Connection. Well, if you're new to Connection, what to expect? Well, you should expect to meet inspiring individuals who have a mission, who are on the mission of serving others and who are pleased to share what they're up to right now with you, and as well to share with you their health tips as well. And if you're new to Connection, well, I invite you to subscribe and turn on the notification button, because each time there is a new episode, you are the first one to know about it. Today, I'm super pleased to introduce you someone special to me. Let me introduce you to Annette Mason. Annette is an entrepreneur, a former executive, and as well a wife and a mother of two global citizens, as she likes to call them. And as every one of us, Annette Mason and her family are as well going through adapting and pivoting through the growth of this pandemic, and the goal is to grow out of this. And from growing from, what are the lessons coming from 2020 pandemic. Well, please welcome Annette Mason. Hey Annette, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Bilitis. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today.
Same. I'm so glad that, we're connecting here right now with California. And thank you for being available to be here with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So Annette, well, please share more about yourself. Let us know more about yourself.
Well, as you kindly introduced me, I do, one of the best things in my life have been my two sons, and I am very, very proud to call them global citizens. I grew up living overseas and coming in and out of America, and living in the United States. So that upbringing, my first memories are the Philippines and then Okinawa, then living in LA and then Orange County, California, and then starting high school in Seoul, Korea. So that definitely had a big impact on my perspective and my worldview. And I am lucky enough to have two sons that are now in their 20s, who have joined me in that love of the world. And all of us have been to about 30 countries, and all of us have lived overseas independently of one another. And my husband of 5 years this month, we're celebrating our 5th anniversary later in September.
Congratulations.
Thank you. He is also a traveler, and we have had some amazing journeys together. And the reason why I bring up travel so much is that I firmly believe that a traveler's mindset and the exploration of the world and getting to know people on their home territory and understand from their perspective is illuminating and helps us all be better informed, and also create more and co-create more. The times we're in right now are so fascinating. In a way, the world is unapproachable with the borders and the restrictions because of COVID. And yet, in other ways, like you and I, how many times have we spoken during the pandemic? And with some of the communities that I'm involved in right now, since March 22nd, I was telling my husband, there may be only a handful of days that I have not been in interaction like this with somebody from around the world. So it's an amazing time, a scary time, but as you introduced me, it's a time that we can, if we choose, to grow through it.
Yes, and I like the analogy of growing from out of what's going on right now.
Yeah, this time that we're going through, it's definitely very, very disruptive. And yet with disruption, that always gives, as things break, the light of day sees new places. And with the light of day gives new opportunity. And I strongly believe that. And I know sometimes when I mention things like this to people, some people do a little bit of eye rolling and think, oh, well, that's easy for her to say. She lives in California. Life's easy. She lives by a beach. And yet, I can honestly say this year has not been easy. With living with the reality of what COVID can bring, COVID almost killed 2 different members of my family. One of which I'll share with you is my son. So Reed is a very healthy 26-year-old. But in March in Sun Valley, Idaho, where he was an adaptive ski instructor, and that's his winter season passion and his profession. At one point, Sun Valley was the epicenter here as far as cases per capita. And he got it during that time. And he got a form of it that affected his heart. And that meant he couldn't stand up. If he stood up for more than 90 seconds, he would black out. And what had happened was he had fluid on his aorta, and that's what was causing that kind of thing to happen in him. Fortunately, the doctors continued to just throw all kinds of medication at him, trying to help him through it. They did know that there was a lethal case that killed a 30-year-old male in Salt Lake City. And luckily, very, very fortunately, Reed survived it. And he's very healthy, and he actually is in Idaho right now, visiting and hiking with some friends. So when people question my pragmatic optimism of today, I hold it very dearly, and I know what life can bring. Earlier this year, pre-COVID, my husband and I were taking care of his parents. My in-laws are very dear to me, and both of them had health scares that could have been life-threatening, and they also survived that. My mother-in-law is a shining light in my world. This woman has been through hell and back in fighting cancer. Her last meal of eating real food was Mother's Day of 2016. So because of the cancer surgery, she no longer is able to eat food. And then because of this year's fight, she's now on a permanent feeding tube. And while that sounds terrible in some ways, the reality is she actually has her weight stabilized now, and she's more energetic, and she has more autonomy and freedom because of the feeding tube. And this woman is a woman that in recovery in ICU in 2016, she was making her nurses and doctors laugh. So she had just endured a double-digit hour-long surgery. Wow. And she had like 12 tubes in and out of her. And she says, can't you put a margarita in one of these tubes?
Wow, she still had the mind to do that. Wow.
Yeah, she has always kept her wit and grace about her. So she's a model for that. And I'm excited about having someone like that in my life and having other people and mentors in my life. And my mission right now is to be able to share tools and things that can act like a compass and a map for people to guide them into daily practices and rituals and map their future and plan for their future and plan for a better day. And those tools and those things are grounded in a lot of really good mentoring and teaching and learning that I've received. And it's also grounded in a traveler's mindset of exploration and curiosity and wholeheartedness.
Mm. Wow. It's very deep, and I like your approach as well about traveling, and how by meeting different diversity, you understand better, and you could be as well sometimes be more grateful for what you have already, or you could as well take away some of your fears that were based on other fears, like and so that's why it's important to go and travel to see by yourself and understand by yourself, and connect with these different nationalities all over the world.
Yeah, I'm also very lucky. My sons not only have been a gift to me as being my children, but as they grew into adults, they have also been guides to me. They have both chosen careers that are the roads less traveled. They did the traditional path after high school. They went on to college, and Evan is my oldest son, and Reed is my second son. And Evan spent his junior year of college in Europe. And so one semester he went to school in Spain, and then the next semester he traveled around Europe on his own, to your point about traveling and journeying on your own. And it was really interesting because it wasn't until he returned that he had told me he can be directionally challenged at times. And I was blown away. Here he is traveling around the world and, using maps and going places where he doesn't necessarily know the language, but he had the courage and the audacity to do that. And then I was also very fortunate because when he would find Wi-Fi, periodically I would hear from him, and he would tell me kind of what routes he was thinking about for the future. Reed has also been a traveler, and when he finished college, he had gone to school and also played baseball, so he was a student athlete. And as a student athlete, he didn't do a lot of traveling during college because he was dedicated to his sport. When he finished and got his degree, he had the opportunity to play baseball internationally. So he's played and lived in Australia, in France, and then the last 2 years in Vienna, Austria. And he was due to go back to Vienna and play again for the Metro Stars this year, but COVID disrupted that. So
yes.
But COVID disrupted that. So
yes.
So, but with that, we were talking about pivoting and adapting. I came into 2020 after a short sabbatical I took in 2019 with my husband's encouragement to do that, to take a little pause and think and reflect. And I was very, very fortunate that on that journey, it was a purpose-seeking sabbatical. And I started in August, and November, I did have an aha. And my aha was based on both my upbringing and my experience of travel and corporate life, and my experiences with people. And almost every role I ever had in my professional life had a great deal of leadership. And while I did my best at every given juncture, I wasn't always the best leader. It took a while to develop those skills. And as a lifelong learner, I'm still developing those skills, and I will be till the day I die.
Yeah, like all of us. It's a day-to-day practice.
Definitely. And so what I discovered in November was that I really want to fuse the leadership and the travel and provide leaders with immersive travel journeys so that they could really grow and develop more deeply their skills of communication and connection and empathy. And it just so happens that those same skills are a fantastic foundation for innovation in the corporate environment. And innovation absent the communication and connection and empathy can maybe be successful, but not as successful. And then the last thing that I focus on, or am focusing on with immersive travel journeys, is avoiding burnout or recovering from burnout. On the corporate track, and especially in the M&A and mergers and acquisitions and strategy world, I found myself on that burnout track, and I physically burnt myself out and went on my first a medical sabbatical in 2011. And that equipped me with some really important lessons learned. So what does that all mean now? If I use a friend and a mentor, Aisha Purcell's methodology of deconstructing and reconstructing, it's a design principle. If I deconstruct the immersive travel journey, what do I really want to do? I want to help people explore and use their compass and build a map to help them create daily practices and rituals that will support them, and then whoever else they're dealing with, whether it's their family or their team, to get through these times. And I've put together a short program that I'm getting ready to pilot, and I'm super excited about, where I'm going to run a series of 4 digital campfires, and I'm going to teach people these tools and these methods so that they can design their own daily practices and rituals and create their map for their future.
Wow, I love it because it's so personalized, and we don't have the same needs at the same time. So there may be a base, but still, I love it that you're including, that they can bring up to their practice.
Yes, exactly.
And actually, so this is actually something you're building up right now. So would you like to tell us more about how you see your future?
I see the future as being a guide and being able to help people navigate the times we're in right now and navigate the future. and in the future also provide immersive travel journeys. And one thing we haven't talked about that's super important, with the AHAH November, I realized that I was uniquely equipped to help people with both the travel and the leadership. And I had this tremendous stroke of, I'll call it divine timing, where I got to read an AFAR magazine, and I picked it up in November at an opportunity to travel to Portland. And the AFAR magazine talked about the gift of travel. So I am looking at the gift and power of travel, not only for C-suite executives, but also to help students in at-risk circumstances see the world and build those inner courage muscles and that inner sense of communication, connection, and empathy, so that they can be in the driver's seat of their own life. And what's super cool is Learning AFAR already exists, and they've got this partner called No Barriers who operationalizes the program. And when I reached out to them in January, they were like, come along, we'll take you on a field trip. And they took me to a school where that program's been in existence for 10 years.
Wow. Yes, and thank you so much again. We will put as well the details of AFAR. Thank you for sharing it with me as well, and I get to check, and it's super inspiring how AFAR is like making traveling accessible to children who doesn't have the possibility to travel and would stay in the country, in their neighborhood all their life if what AFAR was not there. So and yes, and I love it that you are actually close to AFAR and in this dynamic to work more with them.
Yes. Yes.
And what others messages would you like to pass, Annette?
I would like to pass on that whatever challenges people are going through, there are those of us that want to help. And as you're going through your ups and downs, if you're having ups, please take a look around you and check in. Ask people, how are they doing? And stay in the conversation long enough to know how they really are. Because it's really easy for us to say, I'm fine, when things aren't. So, and if you need something, look around and ask. I cannot believe how much people want to help right now. And I could give you a good example that happened to me yesterday. When I went to do some reading, I drove my car over by where I could see the water. I accidentally left my car in the ignition on the accessories so that I drained my battery. And I'm thinking, oh dear. And I asked the people next to me, do you have jumper cables? Nope, but they asked the people next to them, and they did. And they pulled up and they're like, are you sure you're okay? Do you know why this happened? And they were so willing to help. And people are really willing to help. Ask how people are doing, and if you need help, ask for it.
Yes, sometimes we underestimate how others want to help, and it's actually, there is this saying that yes, people are more willing to help than to ask for help. And so this one is very important to underline. You're right, because yes, if you need help, speak up, and if you are in a good place to offer support, go for it. And at the same time, there is this other saying that when you feel like you're not going so well, go and help someone else.
Yes.
And you will feel even better.
Yes.
Will feel better. So
yes.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm sure you have something else. Any other message? Oh, you're good.
Well, as you're saying about helping, Um, I don't think the metaphor has ever rung more true for me. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have oxygen, you can't be helpful to yourself or others.
Yes, this is one of my favorite, and thank you for reminding it. And it's yes, it's really, it's not about being selfish actually to breathe first on this oxygen mask. You know, it's about the metaphor that when you are in an airplane, well, in case of an emergency, the mask will drop down, and the first thing they tell you is that you put your oxygen mask before to help anyone else. And it is the same, like, you know, when we breathe, actually who get the breathe first? It's the heart, and then it go to all the other part of the organism. So thank you for remembering that, Annette. It's super important, everyone, that you take care of yourself first thing in the morning. You have your time for you, because that way, you know, you'll be better, you'll be more equipped for the day going on. And because you have helped yourself first, you'll be able to help others. And believe me, the other way around doesn't work. Talking by experience.
Yes, indeed.
And Annette, how would you like how can we get in touch with you? You know, if we want to know further about as well your program and on, like, you know, leadership, mixed traveling, and the traveler mindset.
Yes. So one way is on LinkedIn. So I'm Annette Mason on LinkedIn. I'm not the only Annette Mason on LinkedIn, but if somebody searches for Annette Mason and Trilogy Design Works, they'll find me. And then within a week, I will have my new website up that is literally compassandmap.com.
Mm-hmm. Super. Well, we will add it up all, and for everyone to join in and connect with you, Annette.
Thank you
and
for
as
having
well,
me today.
You're most welcome. And you're most welcome, Annette. Thank you so much for sharing, you know, your from within, really from within, because you shared with us, like, you know, what's going on through your family as well, what you have been through with COVID, and at the same time, how you are pivoting during COVID and sharing your focus on supporting others as well to grow as a leader, and by looking at diversity as well at the same time. So thank you so much, Annette. And you know, at Connexion, well, Connexion supports Give to Dream Foundation. Give to Dream Foundation has been founded by my dear friend Aida Sabri. And you know, at first it was created for children with mental deficits based in Kenya, and as well for women in India to access to education. However, now since COVID started, well, the focus has changed. That is why Give to Dream Foundation launched the food parcel movement. Did you know that for $2 a day, you could feed a family of 5? And my favorite part on Give to Dream is that by not simply supporting it, but as well being part of the backstage, I'm able to see how whatever action is given by the contributors, how well it is happening after that. Simply to share that with you. So 2 weeks ago was made another food delivery in Kenya, and this has allowed 80 families, 500 people, including children, to have food on the table for the next 2 months. So, and this is only possible thanks to you and to your donation. So thank you so much. And you'll find the link on the comment box below to make a donation, because you matter and they matter as well. Thank you for following Connexion. This was your episode. And you know, if you start to like it, or you didn't subscribe yet, well, definitely I invite you to click on this button right now and turn on the notification button. At the same time as well, if you have any comment, please feel free to comment what was your takeaway from today's conversation and what had inspired you from Annette and myself. Thank you so much, and well, see you next Friday.